We all know you're quite popular.
Yeah, sure.
She just gave you his name so you guys don't use him. How about that?
She's advertising for you.
I know.
Oh, trust me, I make up stories too. But anyhow, so yeah, defense has thousands of employees, and the Army has a pretty good pay system in place. And yet, all the time, the system fails. And so you can't separate the mechanical. Hey, my pay didn't get right. Or sometimes there's people on the end that make the mistake. Hey, I moved. I didn't give you my address. Sorry. Oh, I closed that bank account. Oh, my wife left me. Stop paying her. You know, all that stuff, right?
My wife.
That happens a lot in the Army. That's why I mentioned it, right? But you see where this is going. So there's a human side to every mechanical problem. Don't separate. So far, so good. It's amazing how Mary Parker Follett didn't even know anything about DFAS or any of this stuff, and yet she's just hitting every single part on the head. Maybe I'm biased, but I think she's great. All right, so talked about that quite a bit. Now this knowledge management thing. Again, I like the idea that she has this part about next step business management should take is to organize the body of knowledge on which it should rest. And she's kind of starting to hint at management as a profession. We have defined science as an organized body of exact knowledge. I mean, you can look up biology or whatever. And this scientific method consists of two parts: research and the organization of knowledge obtained by research. And again, you find this in business, right? Of course, in her time, business management wasn't really an academic field yet. Again, it was all engineers. But you find this today. You notice that when a biologist comes up with some sort of a fancy research idea, people that work in like pharmaceuticals, they take note. I can guarantee nobody in the practice will ever read anything that I will ever publish. It will never happen. So there's some sort of a divide, and this is also holding management back from being a true profession. When a doctor finds some cool way to operate on the heart, what does he do? He shares it, and what happens? All the other doctors read it, and they modify their procedures. Okay? When I point out some cool thing about entrepreneurship, it's not that cool. It's not that.
Maybe you're at the Hilton giving a seminar.
I wish.
Or the Four Seasons.
Is it because people don't want to share like their like practices that they find more efficient, so other corporations don't grow, or is it because other managements might not be like, no, I like the way I manage, so I don't have to take advice from you on how you may manage your whole like group or whatever.
I don't know.
There's
I
not,
honestly don't
it's
know.
not the same reverence for it, right?
Yeah, that's part of
Like
it. Yeah.
they have these journals that they publish their discoveries in.
And plus, everyone is unique in their own ways. It's like for every entrepreneur, every management, there's a different, unique way for them to function. Like
Everyone is unique, just like everybody else.
So for them, like to take someone else's advice, like for example, I'm saying that you don't want to follow Cindy's advice in business because whatever she's preaching in business, because you're like, wait, that doesn't work for me, or that doesn't fit in my organization or in my culture or my business. So obviously you're not going to follow that. So I think it's just different. You can't really compare it with science. I think.
Yeah, but that's what she's advocating that should happen, right? But here's the thing. I agree with you. Like, okay, manufacturing may have many differences from HR, right? But that doesn't mean you couldn't learn something from it.
Right.
Also. And it's still a problem today. There is very little interface between academic business research and real hard business workers. It's the weirdest thing.
Could it be that there's just too much of it out there?
Well, there's a lot of science out
Is
there.
there like a big discrepancy between the two?
I think it
I mean,
depends on.
they should be building on one another.
Well, and like Manny says, a lot of managers are just promoted up and don't have any formal training.
I think it all depends on really the person. Because if somebody wants to learn and you want to teach it, you can go to like those seminars. I've been to one when I was like a receptionist. My administrator said, you want to go and learn something? I said, yeah, so I went. And I learned from this lady of her managing skills, of how to manage an office. So it really depends on the person. And if you're willing to go to those seminars and teach what you're printing, then it'll work. But if you're just going to put it out there, then hope that somebody's going to read it, well, not a lot of people do the research to do that part of it. They want what's easy and convenient to them. That's not easy and convenient.
Yeah, that's true.
And you can make money by doing a seminar. So that's true.
And also, some people are just secretive that way, that they you of someone else because you're like, well, what if you try to copy me? So it's
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I don't want that.
That's the old Middle Ages alchemy
So-
thing, right? Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Now I want to talk about what you guys have just mentioned. Her idea that management is always changing. Let's see, I guess that would be, we got 127 here.
It's always changing because the industries are
Professor,
changing as well.
100%.
Yeah. Let's talk about how she looks at it, right? So she says, so I guess 127, 128. I've also been interested in a certain recent committee with representatives from various firms deliberately state as its object the comparison of experience. I should like to know how frank and full their exchange of experience was. But any attempt of this kind is interesting, indicating as it does the attitude on the part of those participating that they expect to gain more by working together. Okay, it's the attitude, just like you talked about. Okay. And they will lose the old idea by allowing other firms to gain intimate knowledge of their affairs. Jay, just like you said. Let's see. So, moreover, not only should we analyze and compare our experience, but we should deliberately experiment. We talked about that too. We should make experiments, observe experiments, compare and discuss these with each other, and see what consensus we can come to in our conclusions. And she goes down a little bit. I heard of a man who made an ice machine which did not work, and the following conversation took place between him and a friend he met. Friend, I was sorry to hear your experiment was a failure. Man, who told you it was a failure? Well, friend. Why, I heard your ice machine didn't work. Man said, well, that's true enough, but it was a great success as an experiment. You can learn as much from your failures as you can from your successes, just like we talked about earlier, like you learn from the failures. Okay, and then we kind of shift down. If science gives us research and experimentation as its two methods, and at the same time it shows us that nothing is too small to claim our attention. There's nothing unimportant in business procedure. And then she kind of moves on a little bit. Think about that for a second, though. We learn from failures. We learn by cases. Okay? Things are always changing. And yeah, there are failures, but we learn from those too. Making sense? Lost anybody? So we talked about reciprocal service. And it's almost like that circular reasoning kind of thing. Okay. With this understanding of the word service, I'm on 133, I think it's a good word. It connotates kind of a self-sacrifice, a recognition of other aims and private gain. It is a high motive for the individual lives and a social asset. If a man thinks of his business as a service, he will certainly not increase private profits at the expense of public good. And we kind of skip down a little bit. A business should think of his work as one of necessary functions of society, aware that other people are also performing necessary functions, and that altogether these make a sound, healthy, useful community. Wow. What is she saying? What does that mean? Does that not scream of CSR and CSV? Remember we talk about corporate social responsibility and creating shared value? That's exactly what she's saying. That it's not so much about making money, but looking at it in terms of value creation and creating something useful for society. That should be our ultimate aim of business. She talks about love of work. Okay? One of our aims is certainly the love of work. A doctor, a lawyer, a teacher, a chemist, or an engineer usually greatly cares for his work. Chooses it, usually for that reason. Voluntarily goes to the training necessary for it, often long and strenuous training. She hadn't mentioned how horrible going through a Ph.D. is. But many a boy drifts into business without having felt any regular urge to do that particular thing. Manny, just like you said. And love of work usually includes satisfaction and work well done. Think about that.
How do you love being a manager, though? It's like,
That's what she's decrying, right? She's asking that very question. Why can we not have management be a profession like a doctor or a lawyer, and it's something that we love and we look at reciprocal service and make management that next step as a profession. That's what she's getting at. Can we not do that? That's her question.
Being a manager is also being a leader, and that's like a genetic thing too. If you're not born into it. Mike disagrees with me on this, but
Yeah, it's
It's probably a matter of training and
I would say
education
it can
that
be
goes
taught.
behind it.
I would say you have to be born into it. Look at history.
You missed the whole first part of this lecture.
Yeah, I know,
We
but
already
it
talked about
doesn't change my opinion though. It doesn't change
I
my
missed it, but you didn't change my opinion.
It doesn't change my opinion. I mean,
That's just talking.
This is okay, it'll be on YouTube too. Go watch it.
All right. So that's what she talks about. Can some of it not actually be taught? Can some of it not actually be trained?
yeah, but look at leaders around the world, like Barack Obama and President Donald Trump. When they were kids, Barack Obama was like a president. He was team captain for his like soccer team and stuff. These are all like evidence played out throughout history that they're born leaders. It's genetically embedded within their system.
Or maybe he was a better president because he played soccer.
Yeah, one or the other. I mean, but none of the fact he was a leader, right? A smaller version, a smaller factor, but regardless of the fact, he was a leader. I mean, you can't, he wasn't a submissive kid who would sit in the back of the classroom and do his work and whatnot. At the age of 45, decided to become the president of the United States. It doesn't. You kind of have to build into it.
So there might be some experiences and training that goes into
Exactly. It's like
Yeah.
that's.
So maybe you're not born into it. You're actually,
Raised.
it's a product of your experience. You get better at it, right? I mean, I was captain of my football team in college, but I'm not the president.
True, but you are a professor, and that in a way teaches itself that you command other students. So, bada bing.
Hopefully I don't command them, like integrate and guide and mentor,
Right.
anyhow. Alright, so we talked about, just a couple other things that I'll talk. Let me see how much time was. Okay, yeah, we're doing just 1 minute. Alright, so we mentioned that. So far, so good, guys? Making sense? Managerial style, we're going to talk about here. We should talk about managerial style. I guess it's not really 138, it's 130. So I put Cindy, I anticipate. So, alright, it's at the bottom of the page. Okay, we've been speaking of professional standards as formed and developed through group association. Is there not something in the manner in which those ideals are followed, which you have hitherto connected more closely with the professions than with business? There's a word that means a great deal to me. I wonder if it does to you. That is style. Whatever a man does, whether he's a statesman or an artisan, a poet or a tennis player, I like his activity to have the distinction of something we call style. Style, however, is difficult to define. As seen defined variously as adapting form to material, as calculation of means to an end, as restraint, as that which is opposed to all that is sloppy and bungling, and the performance of an act without waste. Others speak of style as broad design, noble proportion. A manager's job performed with style would have all these characteristics. And she kind of shifts down a little bit. Page 140. Style is the fashioning of power, the restraint of power. The administrator with a sense of style hates waste. The engineer with a sense of style combines his material. The artisan with a sense of style prefers good work. Style is the ultimate morality of mind. She goes down a little further. Style is always the product of specialist study, the contribution of specialism to culture. What does she mean? It's kind of like what Rashid just mentioned, right? There's kind of a build-up, right? And the more you get into it, the more you develop your own style, right? You could have a president that, is a president like he's a soccer player, and that's part of his style, right? And I remember watching this thing talk about this attorney, and I guess the attorney in his spare time was an amateur boxer, and they said he did his law, on the jury just like a boxer. He liked to move and weave and bob and stick and move, right? So everything that we do, it helps us develop our style as a product of our experience and our training. But style is intangible. It's how we kind of bring it all together. It's how we develop our restraint on power based on a function of our experiences. And that's what management has that other professions does not have. It's that style.
So style is like the outcome of your power.
It's like
You know, I really like that. Can you say that one more time?
Style is the outcome of your power.
Yeah.
It's like
Finesse. You like finesse? Finesse?
Yeah, I like this. It's the outcome of your power. It's how you've brought it together.
Finesse.
I like that. Yeah, excellent.
So what about
Yeah.
Mike? Perfect example, Mike. Mike, very well educated, probably one of the smartest people I know, but he's very passive as a human being. He's not aggressive. Is that, I mean, Mike said, I was talking to Mike, and he was like, if I was put in the position, I would have to take command, but if not, I would always like to be behind the lines, like, you know, take over.
So maybe in terms of style,
Uh-huh.
right, it would be a function of your experiences. Maybe you know that you lead more effectively that way.
But I think some people lead, there's different ways of leading. I respect people that maybe know how to speak to other people and maybe know how to lead and maybe not so aggressive way. There's different ways of leading, right? But there's also different outcomes of leading. There's also different avenues of utilizing power, right? So like if somebody like Mike is, like Christian said, is passive, doesn't mean that he's not a good leader. It doesn't mean that he's
Oh, sure.
less of a leader than somebody that is more outspoken and maybe expresses themselves in a different way.
And it has something to do with his experience, right? And that is how he fashions his restraint on power. That is his style.
And as a manager or an employee, it'd be easier to speak to him.
It's less intimidating.
Well,
Yeah.
that's like his
less
skill.
of that.
And that may be because, I mean, you know, Mike, we're picking on you a little bit, sorry. But that may be because you had a leader that you respected who was like that, and you emulate that style.
Yeah.
Right? It may not be because you're a naturally timid person, but you think in the workplace that's effective because you had somebody you respected that did that, and so you emulate that behavior. Or you were the opposite. You know, when I was in the Army after my first unit, part of my style was come H or high water, everyone was going to eat. Because my first boss never cared whether his people ate or not. Okay, that was part of my style. So I actually did to be the opposite of him.
So you saw something when you had someone else directing you that you didn't like, and you made sure you incorporated that
And that
into your
became part of my
style.
style.
Yeah.
You know, or we had another guy, we called him Major Barney because he looked like the purple dinosaur. I mean, you know, he had like the face and everything, you know. He had that goofy smile too and had the voice. I mean, we called him Major Barney.
That's right. These are people that laid down their lives for the country.
Oh, yeah, this guy's contribution to the war effort was eating all the Otis Spunkmeyer muffins in the break room. Okay, let's get that clear. And, you know, his style was slurking and hiding around in the bathroom and avoiding work and stuff like that. And, you know, putting the coffee machine, you know, in the thing without the circuit breaker and turning off all the power and everything in the middle of the day. But for him, it was all about bathroom, Otis Spunkmeyer muffins, and coffee. And yet it kind of got reinforced, this style, because every time the colonel came around, he screamed at him. So he kind of cowered in the bathroom as a way to get away from that. And so in
So
some
he
way,
didn't change his behavior.
it just
He
made it worse.
embraced it.
Yeah, he was very happy. He has a book on Amazon right now talking about what it's like being a leader in Iraq. I remember reading the abstract. It's like, yeah, it was really hard being a leader in Iraq when a lot of people didn't know what they were doing.
Oh,
Including you.
Yeah, that must hurt.
I really want to buy the book, but I'm afraid of what it says. So, yeah, but you see, that's his style, right? Muffins and coffee were more rewarding than actually leading the troops. So style has good and bad connotations. That's kind of the way we
I
conclude
think the
that.
style is based on the life experiences, obviously.
Yeah,
There
100%.
has to be a reason why he was acting that way in some way.
Yeah. Who knows? Who knows why?
Deprived him when he was a child or something.
Surprised as a child, you become a major in the U.S. Army. Like, how did that even work? Like, what?
Maybe they didn't give him muffins. Now he was eating all the muffins.
Well, he was being all he could be, so we can't fault him for that.
Yeah.
All right, let me, before this guy winds up watching my videos and calling me from the break room. All right, so we talk about, yeah, this is another thing, right? I love this. The idea of work is strengthening your spirit, right? And you find this in a lot of cultures, and a lot of quotes, right? Voltaire, right? Anybody read Candide in their high school? By Voltaire? You read it? Yeah, that's the whole thing. Cultivate your garden. Strengthen your spirit. Do something that makes you happy. Okay? Usually with work. Okay? Same thing with Japanese, right? You hear them always say, I'm going to do this because it strengthens my spirit. Okay? Work as the cultivation of character. Aristotle says the exact same thing. we talked about strengthening human welfare already.
Is that like how the Japanese look at their work? They're very like, they get 1 week holiday a year and they love it. They have a passion for it. They do it. They work like 12, 15 hours a day. They don't complain.
Strengthens their character.
Strengthens their character. Is that similar or?
It's exactly what she's talking about. I mean, she's not referring to Japanese specifically, but it's the same principle.
That's
Yeah,
the same.
100%.
Spain has their own ways.
Yeah, what are they? I don't know.
Like the siesta,
Okay.
where they get to like close their shops off. I don't know if it's like an hour or two.
Yeah,
And
it's
then they come back to work. They go take a nap, drink coffee,
Yeah.
whatever.
When I was in Barcelona, everything closed at like 5 a.m.
But
But that's like, I would say the opposite of like.
Yeah, I don't know if they're strengthening their spirit.
Yeah, I don't think this thing is.
well, some of them like it. I mean, they're not as stressed out as we are over here.
Right, but in some ways, this is about difficulty that you overcome and you become
Like
stronger in
adverse-
the process.
adverse-
Does that make sense?
I mean, more resilient.
Yeah, it's when you become a better person, your character is developed, right? And you get better style, right? You actually don't get style from not doing anything, right? Does that make sense?
So kind of like just straightening your.
I'd say Spanish people don't do anything, that's not what I meant. I just realized it came out wrong.
No.
So kind of like taking your weakness and turning it into something, and working on it and turning it into something that's helpful.
You keep referring to this as an individual aspect. How would you like apply this in a society aspect, especially since you touched on CRV and CSV? Like, how do you go back to that? Like, so individuals have to be contemplated where they're at to be able to like fuel society like productively, or
So, if you look at, she does not refer to a lot of this, it's building on Whitehead again, so I'm going to give you the Whitehead background. This kind of integration is actually kind of an anti-individualistic orientation, right? People are not people, but they are pieces contributing to a whole. Does that make sense? So you are contributing to a need or a truth or something like that. It's a very collectivist society that she's advocating for. So individual stuff, me, I, that's actually very much a power over kind of thing. And so she's actually against that. Does that make sense? Did that answer your question? So yeah, contributing, you notice it's not, you don't do things so much to contribute to yourself, but a lot of it's contributing to society, to the situation. It's only now that she's kind of getting into more of this strengthening of the spirit to kind of reinforce that you benefit too through the process. Is that helpful for you? Okay, let's finish this slide. We'll take a break. So we talked about let's see, training in business. The only thing I was looking at was the bottom of page 143. A man used to think that if his boy was not clever enough for a profession, he must be put into business. Today, we think that business management needs a high order of intelligence, as thorough as training of any of the learned professions. So you can't do anything else, you go into business, but maybe that's changing. And then, let's see. Yeah. She talks about page, I guess it's 144, 145. We work for profit, for service, and for our own development, for the love of creating something. It might be fun to try to do it in one's own life to say, here are the materials of my life. How would the artist arrange them in order to make the tile composition the most significant? I'll skip back down. To come back to the professions. Can we not learn a lesson from the professions on this very point? The professions have not given up the monetary motive. I do not care how often you see it stated that they have. Professional men are eager enough for large incomes. But they have other motives as well. They are often willing to sacrifice a good slice of their income for the sake of these other things. We all want richness of life in terms of our deepest desire. We can purify and elevate our desires, we can add to them, but there is no individual or social progress in the curtailment of desires. We work for profit, for service, and for our own development, for the love of creating something. What do you guys think about that? So don't just work for money, also work for yourself and work for the benefit of society.
That's when you like your job.
Is that?
That's when you like your job.
Yeah.
When you find something you want to do.
It does happen on occasion.
Yeah.
at this point, it's about 8 o'clock. Thinking we might do our break like we usually do. Do you guys have any questions before we start our break? You guys, is this making sense? Is it more helpful when I've gone through it? Is it kind of illuminating what's going
Yes.
on? Okay, good. So, do a quick break. But quite frankly, with